Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Alexa Ritacco. I am the CMO at Goop. I just started there full-time in June, so a little bit new, but I was consulting there about 10 months prior. So got to really warm up to the brand and the team and was super excited to come on board full-time. Prior to that, I spent some time at Hailey Bieber's Rhode, which we all know and love. And then prior to that, I was at Jenny Kane for about 6 years. And yeah, very excited to be at Goop, arguably the original lifestyle brand. So it's been great.
It's iconic. And you guys span across like media, products, experience. What comes first when you're building marketing campaigns that need to deliver both brand and revenue?
Yeah, I mean, usually, depending on the content and subject of the campaign, usually customer first or the intended audience, if that's reader, customer, if we're, trying to center on acquisition, retention, whatever it may be, it's customer first and really defining what we want that emotional why to be for them, whether that's why they're going to buy into the product, why they're going to engage with the content, and centering there. And then I think from there, really developing both the brand and commerce goals in tandem versus in silos, which I've, in my experience, kind of makes for a campaign that's speaking 2, 3, 4 different languages. So just really ensuring the marriage there when we're developing something, across those worlds.
And how are you maintaining consistent brand identity across so many different touch points with your customers?
Yeah, that's definitely proven to be a unique challenge for Goop. The brand is across beauty, fashion, our owned Goop brands. We have our third-party brands that are also across those areas. There's wellness, there's home. And that's kind of been an exercise we've been running, basically the last 12 months and have more recently. It's actually topical for us right now. We've been rolling out a new look and feel. We just migrated our website to Shopify and have really been doing an exercise and re-anchoring in brand and distilling that from, the top down and reworking across every single customer touch point, down to the decals in the retail stores that are, on the mirror and really looking at every single possible touch point and re-examining that and ensuring it flows through what we've defined as sort of going back to basics with Goop and re-anchoring in the content in our Goop-owned brands on beauty and fashion and really tightening up there.
And what does that feedback loop look like between your content team and your commerce team?
It's open, it's direct. It can always be tense. I think everywhere I've been, there's always that tricky dance and balance between performance and brand, which I know and love very well. I came up on the performance side, but now sitting over both brand and performance, that relationship is so important. And I think tension there is healthy and it pushes both sides typically the right direction. And I think it's just distilling it through whatever the subject at hand is. So if it's something, promo leaning, we want to have more of the commerce focus and the commerce lens with brand supporting, but kind of just determining, okay, who's the lead on this initiative? What are the goals? If it's leaning more commerce, let's let commerce lead and have brand weigh in, or vice versa. If it's more of a content-led or a Gwyneth-led campaign, let's let brand lead with, commerce still weighing in on all the various touch points.
Yeah. And how do you find the integration of products into the editorial channel? Obviously I imagine you want to keep it editorial sometimes, but you've got to do promotion of products.
Yeah, 100%. That's also a balance and a dance, and editorial operates as its own function of Goop. It actually lives, we work in tandem with the marketing team, but it has its own editor-in-chief and all of that. So it does really operate as its own freestanding content, but we're very connected and have to be. But there are moments where, promoting the peptide serum might not fit into the weekly content because that's not authentic to the content team and what they want to be talking about. But it's more so, looking ahead 6 months, how can we, tie it into your stories, into a beauty routine that still feels authentic to the customer? Because there's definitely, traps you can fall into where it just becomes too commerce heavy and you lose readers. And what's interesting about Goop is we do have a whole subset of readers who've been with us, for 10 plus years who may have never transacted, but are still coming week to week for the content. And we still want to serve interesting and engaging content to those people, but we also do want to push commerce. So it is kind of like a week to week dance and balance where, we have a set of goals that we want to meet, but we also like at our core want to remain authentic to those readers.
Yeah. And stay true to the customer as well. And what role does community play in how Goop has evolved over time? And how are you staying like close to what those customers really care about?
Yeah, to me, community is kind of at the core of everything I'm focusing on, stepping into this role. What are people saying about Goop, getting involved in social listening? What are people saying who aren't customers, who are customers? At the customer level, it's really getting, deep in the data. What are people buying first, second, third? How are we servicing them? Talking to them by product vertical. What are we saying to the fashion customer versus the beauty customer? What are we doing in the way of cross-sell, upsell, all of that? But also still like, focusing on brand and the content and the community to make sure we're staying true to that lifestyle brand element and giving them a 360-degree experience when they come to the site to really immerse themselves in the beauty world. That's not just our PDP.
And what's one part of the growth strategy that looks, or that's harder than it looks, but it's really worth it?
I think it is that marriage of content and commerce. It can be like super tricky and messy and, can give points of contention, but really sticking to that and anchoring in that just proves time and time again with the customer experience and our customer feedback that people love that about Goop, to where, our email, we've done tons of A/B testing with email where we'll send that hero image with the top tested value prop from paid and a button versus this super like built out email with, Gwyneth's routine or an editor's routine, really how to use the product, why they use the product. And that time and time again wins out. That's something that I've never really experienced at the other brands I've been at. So the Goop customer is hungry for that 360-degree content experience, even at the email level, which is such a conversion-oriented channel. So really working to provide that for them and putting that at the front just proves out every time.
And how are you testing new channels, like without diluting, what makes you truly you? Are you trialing out different platforms and different areas to kind of meet new customers?
Yeah, I mean, we have a couple different lenses we'll always pass things through. There's obviously the brand lens. Is this, does this feel Goop? There's the performance lens. How is this going to convert? Is the intent to convert? How are we going to measure that? There's the Gwyneth lens, like, is this true to her view and her authority on Goop? And obviously that's closely related to brand, but it is its own lens. There's the financial lens. Is it worth the investment and all of that? But with trends and platforms, we're a test and learn team. We like, we'll throw dollars at Pinterest, at TikTok, all of that. But hopping on trends is something that's been newer for the team that has proved out. We just had a viral TikTok leaning into that one trend that was like saying random things to your boss. And we got our chief of staff to do it to Gwyneth, and it was hilarious. And it got like 500,000 views. And that's something that, the team is learning to adapt to, and typically like working in like months ahead sprints. This was like a little bit disruptive to that process, but proved to be, a good jump and jumping on the trend right in the moment. So just like, getting everyone a little bit more fluid and flexible, because the brand's been around 15 years. It's quite built out and has a lot of process. So I think one thing that's been super important in this kind of new look and feel and migrating over to Shopify and kind of stepping, into the present has been like getting the team into that flexible mindset.
Yeah, and heading back into a bit of the scrappy startup ways,
yes,
where it's like, let's not follow the rule book. Yeah. And what's next for you guys then? Like, what does the future of Goop look like?
Yeah, it's really, doubling and tripling down on the Goop-owned brands. I'm really excited about Goop Beauty. It's interesting. I think with Goop, when you say Goop to someone, you'll get the awareness of Gwyneth. You'll get, someone will bring up the vagina candle, which I keep rolling my eyes at. We don't sell it. We haven't sold it for 5 years, but people know it. So I think there's a real opportunity to bring Goop Beauty to the forefront of the conversation. The products really work. We have crazy high retention rates on a lot of these. Gwyneth is product obsessed. Like, she's in the lab with these formulas, she doesn't pass them until they give results after one use. So I think there's a lot of story to be told there. We've been able to scale it quite a bit on paid, but I think there's a lot of brand and top of funnel work to do. So I think you're going to be seeing a lot more from us on the beauty front. We're actually doing a beauty pop-up tomorrow at the Goop Bond Street store. If anyone wants to come by, they're giving out our latest launch for the first 500 people. So more of that, activating in real life, meeting the customer where they are. And really pushing beauty.
Right, and it sounds like you've got a lot going on then. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us today.
So nice to chat.